Listen, a little different off the top of the show today. I walked into, first of all, I was a little late getting here. There's a demonstration out front of the CBC building across the street. I guess this is for Iran. And police have cordoned off the whole area, so they wouldn't let me come into the building. So I was contemplating how far I would have to park from the building to be able to make it here on time. Then at the last minute, they lifted the blockade. But if you're in this part of town, just be aware of that. So as I'm walking in, I'm told that Sam Watts and James Hughes and Soraya Martinez Ferrada are all getting together. They're going to be talking. So I said, guys, before you begin, you're going to pre-tape something. Would you mind coming in? You all graciously said, sure, thank you. I appreciate you coming in. So say hi. Soraya Martinez Ferrada, our mayor, James Hughes from the Old Brewery Mission, and of course Sam Watts from the Welcome Home Mission are all here. Thank you,
what a
everybody.
Pleasure to be with you.
Nice to be with you. And you can promote your own show. But if you don't listen, by the way, both Jim and Sam have a show on the weekend, which you should listen to. And the reason you're here is because you're going to be interviewing the mayor on your show.
Yes, because we think that she is one of the difference makers in Montreal. I think there's no doubt that she'll make a difference, and she's already doing just that.
There you go. And your show is on. Tell everybody when it's on.
It's on every single Saturday from 12 noon until 1 o'clock. James and I have a huge privilege of being able to talk about difference makers, people who are changing things in Montreal, and there are so many of them.
Yeah, difference makers. They come in all sizes and shapes in different parts of our city. They're volunteers. They're leading nonprofit organizations. They're running the city of Montreal. So happy that you're with us, Soraya, to spend some time this afternoon.
Well, I'm very happy to do that because I think we need some kind of good vibes, and hope. And I think having those kind of shows allows us to talk in a different way and talk to, Montrealers in a different way and hopefully inspire people to be good people.
Yeah, it's sad we have to inspire people to be good people. You just hope they would be. But you know what? Sometimes it takes a little bit more of inspiration, as you put it. So that's fine. As long as we get there, the end result is if we all do good things and help everybody out here, that's where we want to be. I will ask you, not putting you on the spot. Yesterday was a big day. The Montreal budget was released. People talk about lots of different things here. I'm sure if you live in Saint Geneviève or Île-Bizard, you're not having a really good day when you found out your property taxes are going up by about 3.5%. I'd ask you first, just in general, and again, I don't want to make this strictly about you. What was it like, first budget as mayor of Montreal? I mean, are you happy with what you ended up with? Because let's face it, you inherited a lot of what you ended up with. So how was it?
So people need to understand when you do a budget as big as the city of Montreal, which is the biggest city in Quebec, it's a budget of, more than $7 billion budget. Usually it takes a lot of months of work. We got elected and sworn in on the 13th of November. We pushed it down by a month. And we, did as much as we could in this first budget because it is a transition budget. One of the big pieces that I want to make sure that I wanted to see in that budget was the homelessness increase of investments. And so that's why we had to redo the books. Is it all what we need as a city? I don't think so. But it's a really good step in terms of going to the right direction.
Now, you and I, before you became mayor, we would talk every now and then. I'd probably spend more time talking about this with Valerie Plante than I did with you, and that was Cavendish. And yesterday, we didn't touch on it in our newscast, but in fact, it is in this budget. There is money set aside. It's going for an environmental review. You don't know how long that's going to take, but at least it is starting, right? That's the process.
I think for us, it was important to send some signals in this budget. Body cams on police was one of them. Cavendish was one of them. Homelessness was the other one. This budget needs to give some signals to other levels of government that this is what the city wants to be doing, and hopefully get everybody talking to each other to make sure that we give those results.
Before I asked the gentleman in the studio, I did want to ask one thing. In the press conference yesterday, when you announced the budget, you had that line about our credit cards are maxed out. For people who don't understand what that means, just explain to them very quickly when you say what that is.
Okay. So when you have your own house, your household, you have your operation money, right? You buy your groceries, pay your bills. And so we have operation money as a city, which is about $7 billion. But we also have investment money, which is our investment on the long term. And that's our credit card. That's our investments, our loans that we take to invest in infrastructure and projects. And usually a city needs to be under 100% of your capacity to have that loan. For many years, we were above that 100%. And we were on the track of making sure that we were bringing back to 100%. So our credit card, your limit, and it's not exactly that, but it's the way we can explain it.
We didn't just reach it, we passed it.
We passed it. We were above it. And we were the city was in the midst of bringing it back to 100. And we did that a year before, because every percentage above the limit costs us a lot of money. We had to put about almost $97 million in our debt this year.
Yeah.
So that's money that I'm not putting as,
Sure.
That's interest. So we need to make sure that we are addressing the issue of their debt. A city can no longer be just paying our debt. And that's why bringing that debt down to a ratio that we have the capacity to pay is important.
Now, because I don't understand this stuff, the previous administration, when you run above 100%, isn't there a rule in place that you can't run a deficit? You can't run beyond 100%? How did they manage to get away with that?
Well, they had an exemption for a couple of years with the agreement that they had to bring that ratio down to 100 by 2027, I think, 2027, 2028. But again, it's a lot of money, and making the right choices, we could bring it down to for 100%.
Just cleaning up someone else's mess to some degree.
Well,
right?
I mean, I don't and this is something I've been saying to you before. I don't do politics on the back of my predecessors. I do politics and manage a city on my own terms, and my term is, I run a household. I don't come from a rich family. I pay taxes like every Montrealer, and I think it's important to make sure that we are addressing the issue of paying our taxes in our capacity to pay, and having a debt that is above 100%. It's not good management, and that's why, for me, it was important to bring it down more quickly than we were expecting.
Okay. I will ask Jim, Sam, either one of you. You're here with the mayor. Obviously, a big part of her campaign was talking about homelessness, making things better. There have been steps taken. I want to know what it is you've seen so far that you like. What do you want to see that, will make things better? Just outline those if you could, either one or both of you.
It's funny because both of us have spent the last 24 hours answering that question in all kinds of different media. And essentially what we're both saying, I think we both sing from the same page on this one, is it's very good to spend the $29.9 million on what we need to do right now. And so that's what the mayoress and Claude Pinard have signaled, is there are things we need to do right now. But in order to really resolve the challenge, the humanitarian crisis of homelessness, we're going to need to do upstream prevention, and we're going to need to do downstream rapid housing. If we do both of those things, then we'll shrink the need for us to spend the kind of money that we're having to spend right now on emergency services. Exactly. And guess what? It's going to be good for Quebec as well, because they're the ones that are shouldering a large portion of the bill for emergency services, the kind that we see at the old Brewery Mission. Did I get that part right, James?
Really, really well summarized. I mean, we see it the exact same way. I think the administration has been very savvy in bringing forward what I've called a trinity of issues right in the first budget, namely $20 million extra dollars to the front line. We'll wait and see how that actually all manifests itself in real time. But fantastic to have that kind of opportunity to make a difference to people, for instance, in encampments where there's really zero services right now. Number two, $100 million that is being devoted towards saving low-cost housing, rooming houses, and so on for the very people who might otherwise find themselves in homelessness. So fabulous investments there. And then the third being a tactical group, to make sure that all the pieces are being worked together in unison, and that there's some coherence to the whole system, if you will. And so we're very excited, and I think what that also signals to the other levels of province, to other levels of government, is that Montreal is doing their part. Mm-hmm. Now we need you here, because the city cannot solve this by itself. It's too big. It's too expensive. So and maybe the mayor would like to even comment on that.
Well, I think it's just a capacity to have a tactical group that makes decisions quickly in a very agile mode, which we did in coming into power, seeing that winter was coming earlier. We had to address the issue of the cold nights. We had 5 nights in a row under 20 degrees. So we decided on our own to say, okay, we're opening up, warm shelters to make sure that people have the space. So I think we have to have that agility in order to address the issue that we have right now, and try to address challenges of, well, this is not my jurisdiction, this is not my land, this is not, and then, okay, well, at the end of the day, who's going to take care of it?
Get it done.
We need to get it done. So how do we do that and try to address? So I'll give you an example. We have issue on having worm shelters by the Notre Dame sites, and the land is from the transport government in Quebec. So I called the minister. I said, listen, we need to have an authorization.
Jurisdiction?
Okay. Which is not mine. We have construction shelters that we can put in place right now, 20, 30 places, but you need to agree on that. It's not in the city, it's Quebec. So we need to have that very quickly managed in order to have those spaces open. So I think having that tactical group allows us to quickly resolve this issue and again, not be in a crisis mode, so we can have the prevention, policies that we need to do and housing that we need to do, instead of just being on the crisis mode all the time and then not addressing the issue in the long term. So I think that's the change of mindset that we have in the city right now. I'm
going to let you all go. I know you've been very gracious with your time. I just want to point out one thing tying into this, if I'm correct. I noticed in the budget there's also a provision for the city buying back buildings and being able to turn those buildings eventually into housing. Yeah. Something that's been talked about for a long time. I remember people saying, we have all these buildings sitting around empty, doing nothing. This is a waste.
I think the idea was, and I've said this during the campaign, the city has bought a lot of lands and buildings, but not a lot of them have concretely resulted in projects of housing or waiting for Quebec or federal government. And I think we have to go back to, how do we do things differently? How can we, the city of Montreal, on its own capacity of equity, have their own loan that we need to address the issue of turning these buildings and housing. Now, many of them won't be able to be housing, but we need to know which ones are not. Yeah. And then if they're not, put them back in the market, get the money back, and then do something else. So that's where we're in the process of doing that.
All right, gentlemen, Sam Watts, Jim Hughes, Soraya Martinez Ferrada, thank you all for allowing me to pull you in here today and take you away from talking to the mayor.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.